Hi there, Jerry here from Jerry's Onland Fishing. Thanks for tuning in to check out the first of a four-part series covering my experience fishing the 2025 TBF District 3 National Semifinal Tournament. The event was hosted by the Tennessee Bass Federation on beautiful Nickajack Lake on the Tennessee River. I was participating as a member of the Kentucky Bass Federation. My first day of practice was Wednesday, October 22nd. I had gotten up early, and I made the long drive down from southern Indiana and launched about 2 hours after daylight. The air temps were in the mid-40s at launch, and there was a really thick fog that had just started to burn off. The water temps averaged between 69 and 72 degrees, and the skies were bluebird clear once the fog lifted. The tournament launch site was the Marion County Park at the bottom end of the lake near the I-24 bridge. I launched there the first morning of practice just to see if I could get anything going near the ramp that wouldn't have to go so far to find. From all I had read, the end of October should have been the start of a great frog and puncheon bite in the grass on this end of the lake. So here's what I had tied on to get started. I had a dark-colored Spro frog. I had a Strike King Blue Crawl Rage Bug pegged and set up to punch grass. A Sexy Dog walking bait in Sexy Shad pattern. A half-ounce white jackhammer with a white pearl menace trailer, a bluegill pattern swim jig, and a black buzzbait with a black zoom horny toad in place of the skirt. So I worked my way upriver to where there was a nice thick grass mat along the edge of a channel bend right across from the rock quarry, and that's where I got started. This place looked absolutely awesome. I spent a solid hour working this grass edge with everything that I had tied on. I frogged and punched up in the grass. I threw the walking bait and buzzbait all along the edge and over the submerged grass. I worked the swim jig and jackhammer all along the outside edge of this grass too. I was just sure I was going to get bit, but there was absolutely nothing going on in this grass. So I had to change tactics. I moved around to the channel on the backside of the grass mat, and I started fishing structure along the edge of the bank, and finally got into a little something. Good. Yeah. Oh, come on. Right there. Boy, that was a good fish. That was a good 4 to 5 pound fish that I had on there. And when I turned the rod tip there, made that sudden move, I unloaded the tension on him and he slipped off there at the end of the dock. But that's okay in practice. I'd rather come back and catch him on a day of competition. So not a bad thing. At least starting to figure a little bit out. Well, got one in a boat anyway on Texas rig. Little 13-incher. I spent half the day working grass mats and docks on the downriver end of the lake. No matter what I tried, I really just couldn't get a pattern of any kind going. I was marking bait and I could see fish on the forward-facing sonar out off the grass edges, but they just wouldn't bite. I didn't look at the TVA website to check for the discharge rates, and there really wasn't much current moving downstream where I'd been most of the day. In retrospect, I think the bite might have been a little different if I had timed it to be there when the current was moving. So with nothing to really lose, I decided to run upriver to Chattanooga and try some places I'd seen online. I rigged up my 3 favorite rigs to go looking for smallies. I tied on a Z-Man TRD and green pumpkin on a reaction tackle tungsten EWG Ned head. I put together a drop shot rig with a 1/4 ounce tungsten weight and a baby Z2 in the deal color, and I broke out the trusty root beer colored Bandit 200. I pulled up on some bridge pilings in downtown Chattanooga, and it didn't take long to get on some fish. I got bit pretty good around the bridge pilings. I ended up catching largemouth, spots, and smallmouth all in the same eddy. but there just wasn't any size to what I was catching. And looking at the forward-facing sonar, it just really wasn't showing there was anything better there in that spot. So since there was really some pretty good current flowing around them bridge pilings, I decided I would push on up closer to the Chickamauga Dam and look for some good current breaks up in that area. And I found some pretty good stuff. Nice. Good, you got yourself a nice fish. That's a 14-inch smallmouth. Not a bad fish on a crankbait, root beer, Bandit 200. I have a feeling these current breaks is where it's going to be. Keeper close to it. Nope. 13-incher spot. is my kind of fishing. I know how to fish up here. I don't know how to fish that shit down on the other end. Truly don't. Fish nonetheless. That's a good sign. Figure a little bit of a pattern out. It's not great, but catching some fish at least. Nice one there. It was right to the boat. Right at the boat. Dude. I'm trying to save it if I can. On my way back to the ramp, something from the front of the boat whipped past me and bounced off the center console. I was running around 70 miles an hour into a light chop, so it made a pretty loud noise when it hit the console. So I came off pad and I went up front to see what I'd tore up. It ended up being one of the graph mount knobs. All in all, I had a decent day of practice considering it was my first time ever fishing Nickajack Lake. I've driven past it several times going south, and I've always wanted to fish it, so I was really happy to finally get the opportunity to. The morning was a pretty big disappointment, and to say the least. I was really hoping to get on a frog or a puncheon bite, and it just didn't happen. So around noon, I made a significant move upriver to start looking for some current breaks and rock. I found what I was looking for, and I did get on a pretty decent bite. I have a lot more confidence fishing the kind of water that I found upriver. So if I had boated the big fish I had on the puncheon rig, I think I would have had somewhere between maybe a 10 to 11 pound bag of fish. And at the time, I was thinking it was probably going to take around 15 pounds a day to be anywhere near the front of the pack. So I knew I still had some work to do. I still had to go out and find some bigger fish. But in the end, I pulled the boat out and headed to the cabin feeling pretty good about day one of practice. Again, this is the first of a 4-part series for this event, so be sure to be on the lookout for more videos in this series. If you like this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Facebook. Search for Jerry Zolman Fishing. I want to give a shout out to my dad who provided the music from my intro clip, and you can check out his music at jerryzolmanmusic.com. So until next time, thanks for tuning in.